All right, so professional intro before I finish up my food here. We've got some shorelines. Best of 5. Winner gets into the main event of Warlords. Warlords hosted by Mem. Big mixed map tournament. $70,000 prize pool. And both these players very talented, know each other very well. My understanding, they're very good friends. We got Hearttt playing as the Armenians. He's already gone for an early dock here. Signs are he's going to be going for water. Lewis has gone for the Persians, which isn't as strong of a late game water civ if you think about their bonuses and just missing Bracer. But very good early starting civ with their economy. And he's gone for the dock over here. But I had just enough time to use the bathroom and make my sandwich. I didn't have enough time to eat my sandwich. So, what do you think, chat? Option 1, I cast with my mouth full. Option 2, I just give you silence. Actually, we're doing option 2. Enjoy the peace and the quiet and the harmony that is Lewis's economy. And I am going to eat. It won't take long. It's not a big sandwich. Nobody subscribe for this, okay? Because I work hard every other moment of the stream. It'd be offensive if it happened now. Thank you, Turbo Weasel. Thank you, Luminarch. Thank you, Supplies. Thank you, but no thank you. We've got Man-at-Arms here for Hearttt. Which is going to be double docks for Lewis. I'm almost finished with my sandwich. Guys, why do we have so many subs? Why now? I was doing such good work. All stream. Thank you. I'm not going to hold back with my hunger on stream anymore because we just got a bunch of subs. Thank you, guys. Lewis, he's opened super aggressive on the water here with double fire ships. And Heartt's been able to hold on for so long anyways. We'll see if Hearttt ends up clicking longsword because the Armenians can't do that. But nice micro there from Hearttt. Basically, to play 1 dock versus 2 is not very easy. Lewis has played pretty well. He's going to go for some archers back at home here. But Lewis's gold income is actually taking the oysters. So he can't take this gold because that gold is far out of his base. Thank you, Uzai. Hearttt going to bring some villagers to the middle now. Drop a mill to take the berries and the deer there, perhaps. Playing pretty open and playing pretty aggressive so far. But Lewis is definitely a more defensive player. Hearttt, I think, is a bit more meta in terms of his aggression. If anything, I think he runs out of ideas if the opponent is too good defensively, though. So I think that it's a good game plan for Hearttt, but also a good game plan for Lewis. What's up, Night Drive? What's up, Grey Knowledge? What's up, well, everyone else can try and say hello here as Heartt's running around with the Man-at-Arms. Still no longsword upgrade. Lewis solid enough to defend from that so far. Almost loses the scout there. But still has the water to focus on. And now he's mixed in a couple galleys here against the Hawks. Hello, Swivel Hips. What's up, Stashville? I think in many ways Hearttt has had more than enough success with these Man-at-Arms, but he still hasn't had any kills. But the fact that he's been able to open with that and then also play so well in the water has been pretty impressive. Also, having all this food in the middle is always very good. Man-at-Arms still running around. Scout is just being chased down there. And we'll see what Lewis's micro looks like. No fletching yet. But the Hawks didn't move forward immediately for Hearttt, and now they do. And, ooh, the regrouping for Lewis's units. Yikes. That hurts a lot. What kind of sandwich was it? I'm having a pulled pork right now, and it's awesome. Well, I was feeling really good about my type of sandwich until you told me you were having a pulled pork sandwich. Mine was just turkey and cheese with mustard. Mine was not complicated. It needed to be as efficient as possible because I knew this series was going to start soon. I think Hearttt will be pretty happy with these trades so far. It gets 3 docks for Lewis. I think for Hearttt, it's just now become 2 because of this dock over here. But Lewis will also be happy he hasn't taken any big eco losses here. Unfortunately for him, he did lose the scout, and he doesn't know that there is an archer range in the middle for Hearttt. But the archer range doesn't necessarily mean that Hearttt will get damaged. There is an overchop here. So if Lewis doesn't pull away, Lewis could lose the first villager of the game. And it looks very likely Lewis is going to lose that villager. Really annoying, but this is the beauty of keeping your man-at-arms alive. Is Hearttt going to get another one? Lewis is aware of it now. Hearttt is blocking. I think it's got to be 2 hits to get the kill. There's no way. Yeah, Hearttt might come back with a skirmisher or something for that villager. That villager is 1 HP. Very unlikely. Oh, God. Lewis is in the middle with the villager, too. A lot of multitasking here, but I think if Hearttt uses the Hulk, he can hook this villager down. Lewis has another villager coming to the middle. Don't save your friend. Be a coward. Unless you're my friend, then you can go save me, but everyone else just let him die. Heartt's got to be loving this so far. Oh, God, and Lewis is also losing this as well. Lewis just can't keep up. His navy's completely out of position. His vills are out of position. Man, is Hearttt looking good. Did you guys see the back and forth that Hearttt and Jordan had on Twitter at all? It was super funny. So yesterday, Hearttt played Jordan, and I don't know what the score was, but I know he beat him. It was like 3-1 or something. And Jordan posts on Twitter. He's like, today I lost 3-1 to Hearttt in the first qualifier of Warlords. Like, just very Jordan. It's like very just like specific and to the point. Today I lost 3-1. You know, I obviously was disappointed with the result, but very happy with how I played. I think I'm playing my best Age of Empires in recent times. Hearttt quotes that. He goes, today I played Jordan in Warlords. Very happy with the result, but pretty disappointed in my play. I'm pretty sure it's the worst Age of Empires 2 that I've played in recent times. Like, he pretty much takes Jordan's exact paragraph and then, like, you know, changes a couple of the words. Hopefully I can play better against Lewis, because I played horrible. It was super funny. I know Jordan got a kick out of it as well. And then I think Hearttt got one guide because there was probably one person who didn't see the joke, right? And they were like, oh my goodness, that Hearttt is so egotistical, blah, blah, blah. And then like 8 hours later, Hearttt clarified underneath it. He was like, I was memeing, by the way, in case that wasn't obvious, because I know how it goes. There was probably one person who took it too seriously. It was funny, though. The Persians have bailed Lewis out a lot here. But I think he's having a really rough time, man. Considering all the things that played out in this game, he hasn't had any advantages. Even here, like, Heartt's winning this fight right before Castle Age. Hearttt using the range units to help against the Hulks there, which people are finding out more and more you can do, because the Hulks are so weak against any type of range. Lewis has 2 villagers to the left. I think for him, it's a little bit of desperation now because the start has been really poor. Hearttt is playing super open, though, so he is exposed. Force Lewis into a tower. And Hearttt probably going to have the edge on water because he has a far greater navy. But Lewis is going to go for a siege workshop. If Hearttt were to TC this area, this could get really fun. For us. Not for him, but for us. Because I think that's where he's going to end up town centering. Right there. For now, he goes for the warships upgrade. Funny thing, Heartt's a bit better at it now, but Heartt's like me where I just build a new mule cart instead of moving the ones that I have around. So you'll notice sometimes in the really long games, Hearttt will have like 50 mule carts. Yeah, I mean, Lewis is nothing on water anymore. Water is completely lost for Lewis. Well played to Hearttt. But he does have a mangonel. I think Hearttt might TC the left at the worst possible time. Hearttt still has the army over here as well, massacring Lewis. There goes the TC, dude. If Lewis goes now, this could be really good for him. This is still horrible. It's one thing to lose water, but to lose this many more vills is also really, really bad. Heartt also has this food eco in the middle. He can get the relics in the middle. Lewis doesn't know that there's a target there, so he doesn't want to show himself yet. Heartt's going to be really confused. He's like, what is Lewis doing? He's expecting a knight or something? Ooh, Heartt's going to check. He's thinking, where am I vulnerable? And he will drop an outpost there. This villager saves the whole town, guys. Absolute game changer that she's out here and sees these vills. Because now Heartt knows that something's going to come, and he can prepare for it. Yeah, Lewis coming forward with the mangonels. And now Heartt will drop a safer outpost. T90, is this map pants? This map looks more like a kettlebell. I like kettlebell map over pants, personally. I think if Heartt makes a couple warrior priests, you could deal with this. The other option is you could go for redemption and just convert this from range, which is probably the safer play. There's the redemption upgrade for Heartt. Again, Lewis basically has nothing but this push now. All 3 mangonels. You guys think the map looks like a handbag? All right. Handbag? I don't even know what that quote... I don't even remember what that quote is from at this point. Yeah, the next thing you need, though, is you need Sanctity. If you don't have Sanctity, the mangonels can still take down the monks. The Sanctity is fairly expensive. Yeah, Lewis sees Sanctity as an in. Lewis is eating this TC pretty quickly here. And Lewis is Persians with 2 TCs. With some food eco. It's not great. But maybe there's a chance here for Lewis. Almost kills that monk. Heartt needs to wait another 40 seconds for Sanctity. He loses another monk. This would be an extremely frustrating loss for Heartt. Losing this game when you've had the perfect start would be... It would do crazy things to your mentals. And for Lewis, you just got to give yourself your best shot from here. Because you already know you're dead. Mangonel gets converted. Mangonel immediately turns around and... Oh, no! No! Disaster! 3 mangonels gone for Lewis. Again, he's got no other positives. And that's redemption for you. Heartt's TC stays alive. And Heartt can just walk all the way over here. Perfect game for Heartt to set the tone. That was so good. Honestly, I cannot stress to you how easy he made that look. Man-at-Arms into 1 dock against 2 on water and against archers. And like just everything that Lewis did was super smooth and solid. But that's a sign of if you can be like really smooth with aggression and balance it out behind, a player like Lewis can maybe struggle. Lewis had a reverse sweep yesterday. So he was a bit of a slow starter. I'm sure he's going to have some good games here, but that was what Heartt can do when Heartt's playing at his very best. Well played to him. A 2-to-1 KD. And again, the eco. Like, that's competing with Persians on a water map where they have 3 docks. It's not easy to do. Well played. All right, so we'll put Heartt back in the red, Lewis back in the blue. Welcome to Black Forest. Black Forest can already be very Vill fight heavy. But this 9 villager start version, sometimes you see players bring forward 5 or 6 villagers to fight the middle. Heartt is going to wall the middle right away. And Lewis is not going to fight at all. Lewis goes out with the Mongols. Lewis brings in the 3 boars immediately. And Lewis just goes for the lumber camp. So interesting start here from Lewis. Chooses not to contest the wall. Now, Heartt used to play a lot of team games on Black Forest. I'm not sure how many 1v1s he's played. I'm also wondering what he's thinking now. Because it's played on Explored, you can actually look and you can see that Lewis already brought in those boars. And that's Lewis with the best hunting civ in the game. Combine that with the fact that Lewis didn't get loom means that Lewis is already up a villager. So Lewis has a nice little eco lead. The Heartt invested into those walls, but I think Lewis could just play towards a fast castle or super fast feudal play to try and pressure this. Heartt's got to think this through. Heartt's going to go for another layer of wall. Interesting. Are there any super Black Forest experts here that can give me your insights on this scenario right now? Because from my perspective, if Lewis goes man-at-arms and archers, he just breaks through these walls and he's in a really good spot. But, like, I feel like a lot of Black Forest players feel like playing Man-at-Arms is bad. That's a pretty wide choke point. Looks like Lewis is going to try what I said. I like this from Lewis. I think both civs can be good in the late game, but if you want to... Like, Hearttt might try and play defensive boomy style, and then he's going to immediately be pressured. Okay, we got some insights from chat. Thank you, chat. Someone asking why Hearttt banned the Britons. Probably because of Black Forest, because they're really good on Black Forest. 1890, I had a Goth game yesterday. How do you defend against Woad Raider plus Longbow push effectively? Could only hold until my British teammate arrived. Okay, so you were Goths against 2 people. So realistically, that combination is almost impossible for the Goths. So I wouldn't really be too disappointed with yourself. Against Woad Raiders and Longbows is just bad. Now, if your teammate arrives and your teammate mixes in some army, you could probably spam like full champions and full Huskarls while they make longbows. So that would be my advice. But if you're asking how to win that 1v2, it's actually not so easy against that. Woad Raiders alone are probably not something Goths can deal with very well if they want to play infantry. The Goth player would need to make hand cannons if there's infantry out in that scenario, I think. So Heartt's like, yay, okay, we're going to boom. This is Black Forest, we're going to chill. And Lewis is like, just kidding, bro. I'm actually just going to break down your walls. Lewis will click the Man-at-Arm upgrade. Lewis should be through these walls very quickly, and Heartt's got a decision to make. Decision number 1, get to feudal. You've got to get to feudal as quickly as possible. Decision number 2 is just wall and hold for as long as possible. Honestly, I think committing with 2 villagers is way too little. I think you need to bring like 5. Okay, there are 3 more coming. I personally would really like arson here. I don't know if Lewis is going to opt for that. I wouldn't hate a tower here for Lewis, but he will also have the archers. The thing is, Hearttt doesn't have a lot of food income compared to what, you know, he really needs. He is bringing in the boar. Oh, God, there's another boar! Oh, that was so close. We almost lost the Vill. I guess he does have some food income. That deer is running scared under there. Heartt's distracted. There's the tower from Lewis. Hearttt is still walling. Heartt's got to get to feudal age here. But Heartt's got to keep this pressure out. If this army gets through, it's going to be horrible for him. One could even say heartbreaking, but I would never make that joke. Yeah, it's very costly to wall, but it's game over if the unit kills everything and if the units get in. So you pretty much have no choice but to wall. Keep walling this. Wait till you're in feudal, and then you can stonewall and make towers and maybe even make army. The positives for Hearttt is he did add fishing ships. So, I mean, in Heartt's position, you could essentially have the eco lead because Lewis has had no dock, can't make fishing traps. And so far, so good. Like, really impressive defense from Hearttt thus far. Lewis hasn't broken through. I think if Hearttt can make another layer of wall that ranges outside this tower this way, as long as he doesn't make a mistake with the weak villager, I think he can hold for a little while longer. Now, he still lost a little bit of ground, but it's not exactly how Lewis drew it up. Isn't it bad that he's keeping 5 villagers just to wall? Yeah, but you have to, right? You absolutely have to. You've no choice. I think it's the perfect amount. I think if he went with 2, he would not work. If he went with 10, that'd be too much. 5 actually felt like the perfect amount for me. But it still might not be job done. It still might be a problem because he's got some weak vills. That's arson man-at-arms. Heartt's like, please, let me get to feudal. He needs a market and a blacksmith. Ah! Ah! Oh, he gets the walls. Bro, that was so close. I mean, the wall's still going down. Okay, he drops the blacksmith. I think that blocks it off for the most part. He also drops a house there. Villagers are super weak. Villagers need a medic right now. But it doesn't matter if they're weak. They still work just as efficiently. And there we go. Hearttt holds. And now he could maybe make some army. That's what surprises me. The fact we haven't seen a like a barracks or an archery range to go for some skirms or something. But maybe if he can hold on, He can make it to Castle Age. Hearttt gets housed really badly here, guys. He's still not producing a Vil. Still not producing a Vil. Still doesn't have a house. Still not producing a Vil. Still not producing a Vil. Guys, guess what he's not doing? He's still not producing a Vil. Okay, he is going to get Town Watch. And Market. Oh, okay. But he loses a villager. Lewis has brought in so much extra hunt with the Mongols. He's adding some fishing ships behind this. But Hearttt might reach Castle Age faster here. But he actually needs to complete the market to do so. God, this is so uncomfortable for Hearttt. And look, he can't bring these Vils to come do it either. Because everyone's weak. It's like, can we get some healthy villagers over here for once? Snake fan in chats, his heart is dead. Do you think so? I don't know if he's dead. I think if he gets to Castle Age and goes for Siege, all of this can get pushed back. It's obviously very uncomfortable for Hearttt. But I think he just needs to get up. And part of that is get the tower. But unfortunately for him, while he hasn't lost a lot of villagers, he has been delayed a lot. And oh god, the man-at-arms are going to run in. The man-at-arms are going to run in. Villagers going down. Oh, yikes. Okay. Yep. I would be in agreement that Hearttt might be dead. Because he can't complete his market. He can't go up because he needs the market. And he can't build the market because the army's here underneath his tower. Well played from Lewis. Great pressure. I think Hearttt is very, very dead. Oh, man. That's so annoying for him because he was so close. I think he will feel like he should have done a much better job here. But Lewis, just exactly what Hearttt did to him is just calculated aggression with good eco behind. And, oh, it's an absolute massacre for Hearttt. He still can't complete the market. Oh, no. And Lewis should just chase him. Lewis shouldn't stay. Lewis should just keep running. And okay. Hold on, guys. I'm going to go to as slow a speed as we can. Let's see the amount of time between the GG and Hearttt quitting this game. Let's see. Let's go slow. Let's see if there's any time. He was out of this game so freaking fast. This must have been so painful. Okay, ready? Wait for it. We're at slow-mo. GG to game ending. How fast? It was the same time, dude. How do you even do that? You got to use hotkeys for that crap. That's insane. Yeah, he's instantly out of there. I guarantee you they're in the lobby for the next game as well. Heartt's like, nah, dude. Let me get out of this one. All right, so yeah, Merry Isthmus, guys. We've got Isthmus game number 3 now. The score's 1-1. Games have not been very close so far. When Hearttt won the first game, he dominated. When Lewis won the second game, he dominated. And here comes Hearttt bringing in his boar right away. Of course, the 9-villager start. And we've got 5 on wood for Hearttt. There will definitely be a dock at some stage. Yeah, the idea is you've got this opening on land through the middle. And then you've got the water on either side. Most of the stone, not all, but most of the stone ends up being on these islands for the very late stages, which is something to keep in mind. And that might actually be why Hearttt chose the Koreans, too. Because if you have access to that stone and you're fighting through the middle, the Civ is very difficult to deal with. Also, lots of gold through that middle area. Look at all the gold around the pyramid here. There was this bug when this map was first introduced where the units were glitching around the pyramid. Does anyone remember that? It just came into my mind. I think it was MBL or Viper or both or something. I forget. So the units were like, ooh, like stuck in the middle. It's a couple years ago. Lewis spawned over on this side. So it feels only natural he's going to dock on this side. Heartt's a bit more of a 50-50 scenario. So it's a bit of a guessing game. You don't know where the opponent's going to dock. But they are going to end up docking on the same side. So depending on what their strategy is going to be, that's obviously a very big factor. If they're both going to play water, that'll probably be pretty even over here. So. And we'll probably see the players pushing some deer for now. A T90, when are we going to see pants again? Well, do you want a real answer or what? Realistically, the map is not called Pants. Okay, the map is called Bay. I think if I were to include Bay in one of my tournaments again, I'd probably do an updated version. But ironically, if you remember the map, the thing that I think would be good for the map is elevation in the middle area right beyond the water. But because people consider that map to be, like, Pants, if I add elevation in the area I'm thinking, people are going to make even... Yeah, people are already saying bulge. Exactly. Like, this isn't going to make it any better, guys. But that would be good for the map, is to add a hill there. All right? It would genuinely be the feature for the map that I think it needs to spice it up. So I'm really torn. I think we might just need to Alt F4 and just get rid of the map. Isn't that ridiculous? I guess we'll have to change other features of them. Maybe we'll just make a new map. We'll just get rid of Pants. We'll make a new map. Battle of the Bulge. Yeah, true. Battle of the Bulge. Oh, God. That's so funny. A Juggler, thanks for the 61 months. Juggler says, how did Nilly get you to game 5? Question mark. That was interesting you didn't sweep. Thanks for the compliment. Nilly's a solid player. He definitely watched all my games and prepared, and I think we both underperformed in different ways, but it was a fun set. For the love of God, T90, please don't get rid of your pants. You guys only ever see me from the waist up. So I know you're joking, but legitimately, I could be consistently employed without ever wearing pants. I am, to be clear, but yeah, you guys wouldn't know. There's the barracks for Lewis. Full walls. I think we'll see lots of water, and he needs to know what Heartt is up to, and he knows there should be a dock here because he saw the palisades. T90, do you even have legs? True. True. Now, if I didn't have arms, that would be a problem. But I guess I could get by without legs with my job. So, T90, we've seen you on multiple lands. That's my twin brother who shows up for in-person events. He gets paid a premium for it, but that's not actually me. I'm just at home. We're doing whatever. Where's Lewis on gold right now? Am I crazy? Is there oysters here? It says he has 4 on gold. Guys, I'm going super blind at the moment. How? What's happening? How does it... It says he has 4 on gold. Where is he getting gold? What? Am I having a stroke? Where is he getting gold? Oh, there's a whale. Oh, they added whales. Oh, shoot. Okay. Sorry, I didn't see the whales. I was gonna say. Well, oh well. That's where he's getting the gold income. Heartt's actually gonna mine the gold, I assume. And he's already mining the gold. He's also dropping the tower. And last time they played on water was game 1, and Heartt completely dominated Lewis. And again, he's gonna Hulk him down. Look at the blocking there. That's so good. What I just don't understand is why you ever open fire there. That to me makes very little sense. You see your opponents on 2 docks, you're going to open 1 dock fire. I think that's arguably even worse than 1 dock galleys, depending. Heartt goes for the very cheap ships, and now there's no whale for Lewis. So he will have the shift over here for the gold. And Lewis has the archery range, but Heartt has the tower because he saw the archery range, and Heartt is walling up right now. My fiance's not very happy with the size of the whales. Like, these are the tiny... If you look at the size of the ship, and this is like a Hulk, right? It's by far the biggest ship. And then how small the whales are, it looks like a freaking minnow. So she isn't opposed to the whales being added to the game as a marine biologist, because, you know, people have whaled before. But, you know, the size of the whales is the problem. And Heartt continues to be aggressive here. Lewis is being really stubborn there with the repairs, though. Well played. T90, is she often unhappy about size? No. No, she's completely content with everything except for the size of the whale here. All right? Jeez, man. Chat is extra special today. Trying to mess with me here. We got a dock from Lewis. He's going to sneak over to this side. There's the archers from Lewis. Archers are going to run into the cheetahs in the middle. We got cheetahs out here? Are the cheetahs faster than the other animals? I don't think I've seen cheetahs yet. They look exactly like the jaguar they had in the game the other day. Lewis, he held so far on water, which should be the goal for the Malay early on, because Malay should have the slightly more efficient eco long term. Just double checking Heartt's scouting. He never scouted to see if Lewis is over there. Might assume, though, because Lewis just has one dock here. And Lewis recovering nicely. Archers will run around. There should be no big mistakes from Heartt. Both players have played very solid. And Heartt does actually get housed right after I say no mistakes. And Lewis already with the market here might start to buy some food and click up here. But Heartt is back on water now, and Heartt has a lot more ships over here. And if Heartt full clears this dock, that's 5 fishing ships down for Lewis. But again, with the garrison and the arrow firing from the docks, it completely changes these engagements. Heartt doesn't go in. Lewis goes in. I don't think this should ever be a good fight for Lewis. Lewis went into... Like, Lewis had no business being that confident going into that fight. He's actually very lucky he didn't lose more. He still could. And Heartt has ranged units just waiting. Lewis is just running around the middle of the map. Heartt sees how weak these units are. And again, scared of the arrows, backs away a little bit. Over on this side as well, Heartt also micring a little bit. Heartt's looked really good on the water maps today. If I were Lewis, I would want to play full land because Heartt's looked super smooth. Like, even with, like, the economy. In both cases, Lewis had the way better economic civs. Like, Persians is way better than Armenians in terms of their starting res and docks and stuff. Here, Malay's also better because they can go up much faster. I guess that's really good drafting from Lewis, though, to give him the civs that give him that slight edge. We'll see lots of docks, lots of engagements on both sides. All right, chat. Serious question. All right. Now we've talked about whales and other things, but serious question. If Heartt has a weakness as a player, what would it be? If there was a weakness, obviously he's one of the best players in the world. And his micro is incredible. His adaptations. I mean, he's pretty much as well-rounded as it gets. Someone says mentals. Okay, that's fair. Can't beat Hera. Okay, that's fair as well. I think that his weakness is unique units. That was mine. Like, anytime a unique unit is needed. Like, think about Heartt. He doesn't win through any units from his castles beyond a trebuchet. Or, like, turtle ships, for example. That's what I'm leaning towards. He doesn't really play unique units. He plays standard all the time. And here, I'd really like to see a turtle on both sides. As a wise man once said, I like turtles. I think that could benefit Heartt a lot here. Let's see, though. Lewis is going to get the ship upgrades. Heartt will have to get it here in a moment. And for now, he needs to back up. Will we see Heartt make some turtles? Yeah! Yeah! Let's go! Kudos to myself for the proper segue. Let's go, dude. That's exactly what I wanted to see. Is those turtles. And I think with 1 or 2 turtles on both sides, it gets extremely difficult for Lewis to win any fights. Yeah, 2 turtles over here? Good luck. Lewis still doesn't have a second TC yet. He does get his ships kind of trapped in over here. Oh no, he's going to get trapped by turtles. There's the turtle. Bam! The turtles should be very good there. Oh man, Lewis, what have you done? Trapped by turtles. Sounds like a really crappy movie idea, but... One's in chat if you would watch it. Yeah, Lewis went too far. He could never escape, and now the turtles are coming. And again, not a whole lot going on land right now. Apparently, chat would be interested in that movie idea, so if there's any directors out there, make it happen. But I think that is Lewis gone on water, at least on the left side. And Heartt dropping the second TC now. Wood upgrades coming in. Small ranged army. Won't be able to accomplish much, but might harass Lewis a little bit. But now we're at that stage of the game where it's likely to go pretty late. And you're going to fight over that middle gold control. There's a lot of gold in the middle there. And eventually the stone's on these islands. So I think if you lose both areas of water, you could have some big problems. If it's just one side, it's manageable if you're Lewis, because you can take that stone as well. Sounds like a 90s band. So, my friends and I do this thing called Great Band Name. So, you know, we'll just be talking and we'll just, you know, say something or hear something and we'll be like, oh, man, great band name. And I find that there's a lot of things in AoE 2 that we say on a regular basis that would be a sick band name. Like Attack Grounds? Oh, dude. I'd load up the latest Attack Ground album right now. Might even be a band name. Murder Holes? I don't know about that. Not a big fan of that one. Stack Patrol? Let's think of ideas. Whale Size? No, Whale Size is not a great band name. Fast Imp? Dude, Fast Imp would be a great band name. I like that. Redemption? Yeah. Atonement? All the monk texts would be sick. What do we got in here? Herbal Medicine? No. Heresy? That's sick. Sanctity? That's fine. Siphons? Maybe, yeah. Catapult Galleon. Drawman, maybe? You see what I mean, though? There's some decent ones out there. Yeah, Hearttt will win water on the left side. Would like to see him get fishing lines. That would benefit his fishing eco. Could maybe even get gill nets. Yeah, he's pretty much full one water now. Only thing he hasn't done is track these two Hawks. We'll see if he reacts. If he reacts, the Hawks will die pretty quickly to the dock fire. Hearttt doesn't have an easy way to end the game right now, but he's in a very healthy spot economically. Stable now from Lewis. So he, I think, spotted the rocket card out there. He knows that Hearttt doesn't have a lot more than that, so maybe he'll consider a scout or an elephant. A monk living on a prayer here, and he dies. Prayers did not help. Hearttt might want to take some map control and consider some towers in this region, because I think if you keep Lewis off that gold, you'll be very happy. Hearttt just added a cav archer or two, but there's the rocket carts now. And this is where Lewis will add the elephant. And this is where Hearttt would need to have some monks, but he doesn't have any yet. And Hearttt doesn't know the elephant's on the way, but he's painfully slow. Yeah, painfully slow elephant. Is that going to be enough? Rocket cart will probably go down. Tower's already coming up for Hearttt. You can lose one and still be satisfied here. You lose two, you get really frustrated. I think you could fall back to the TC and it's still probably okay. That tower's at 90%. It's really close, actually. But if Lewis gets too close, he could lose his monk, which is the last thing you want to lose there. And he goes in, he loses the monk. He does take another rocket cart. Honestly, Lewis has a very good food economy right now. Just looking back here, that's very smooth. And he's going for university like he wants to go imp with a forward castle or something. But if more rocket carts come out, Lewis can't get to the middle very easily. The Neutral Islands? That might be more of an album name, the Neutral Islands. I don't know about a band name. We do have a list, but I don't have the list in front of me. The full story... Here's the full story about this great band name list, okay? So... This best friend, this friend of ours, right, is actually going to be the one officiating our wedding. That's how close he is, right? Good friend of ours. And I met him through Jamie, through my partner, through my soon-to-be wife. 6-month countdown. I'm hyped. And so obviously, like, known him for a long time now. And we play this, like, great band name thing. And they've always had this notes list that they both had access to. So every time there's a great band name and they think of something, they throw it onto the list. And she wouldn't give me access because she's like, no, this is our... She's like, you could like... you could still mention band names, but this is our game from college. She's like, you're not getting into our game from college. And it's not that big a deal to me, but I like to mess with her. So I texted him. I'm like, hey, bro, you want to add me to the note for a later date so I could mess with her? Yeah, she was gatekeeping the list. So he does, and she doesn't notice. A month passes, and then I'm like, I'll add it to the list. And I pull it up on my phone, and I add it to the list. And she's like, wait, did you, what? And her brain completely froze. And she checked, and she was like, what? And she kicked me off. So funny. I'm too much of a troll. I can't help it. Someone, sorry I didn't talk about the game for 90 seconds. Someone in chat got very upset. Lewis is in desperation mode right now. Lewis is in fast imp mode. He's got to kill quickly. He's well behind economically, but he's not necessarily so far behind that this isn't doable. I think that the mini fast imp approach with the 2 TCs was actually the perfect thing he needed to bring this back. He went for redemption, which was great, and block printing very early for only 2 monks, which is really nice ratios. Seriously, I thought Lewis was in like super dead mode, which is why I kind of went off and started talking about band names and stuff. But I think this is winnable. A lot of the military for Hearttt is on the water, which doesn't give him any value right now. Heartt's making ranges behind. If there's any civ that can recover or match the skirm numbers, it would be the Koreans. But Trebs and bombard cannons could be out for Lewis pretty soon to pressure the front of the map here. Man, I still think if Hearttt runs out of stone, it's going to be because he doesn't think about a transport out here. It's such a big deal on this map, but it's such a specific thing that I just don't think that he's needed to do it yet. Like, you do have this 2-tile stone, but ideally you get more than that. Good pressure here from Lewis. And Lewis is going skirmishers on both sides. Heartt's going to have a lot of skirms himself, though, and he does get the armor upgrades for free when making it to Imp. Quick walls from Hearttt. Lewis is hoping to raid with skirms. Has he gone too far? The monks can't come here, Lewis. The monks can't be here. I don't know about a skirmisher raid, man. But that's also really good play from Hearttt. Hearttt smashes the skirms. There goes half of Lewis's army. For a second there, I thought it was coming home. And now I'm not so sure. We've got the skirmishers going this way for Hearttt. He'll clear this up as well. Again, if Hearttt doesn't have stone, maybe there's some big questions. But he can always get out there. And he's getting chemistry himself, and he can make bombard cannons if he doesn't have the castle to make trips. 34 on food versus 21 on food. So Lewis doesn't have that. But Lewis does have 5 relics, which is pretty sick. Heartt's only going to have the 1. And Lewis has the gold in the middle. So actually, that's the biggest thing, is where is Hearttt taking gold? He's got this gold now. Another random elephant from Lewis. Get some value. Yeah, both players are playing really well. I think it's a little early to say that whoever loses this will be the favorite in their set next week, because we don't know who they're going to run into, but both players certainly have the talent to consider themselves in the top 16 conversation. And here comes Lewis with another castle. And again, the Trebs took down the castle, or pushing the middle. But now it's Heartt's turn. Heartt's going to try a skirmisher raid, which Lewis is actually super exposed against. Okay, every bombard cannon that Hearttt has is so valuable here, guys. He can't make Trebs anymore. He doesn't have the stone for it. These skirms need to keep moving. They are. Heartt's got a lot of skirm production at the moment. Bombard cannons are on the way. Hearttt would love those monks. Lewis can't be losing those monks. He loses the monks. That's so bad for him. If he had those 2 monks there to at least threaten, maybe he'd have chances, but these skirmishers are going to run in. Panic TCs for Lewis. What a great job from Hearttt to hold the line here. Even repairing the tower might not seem like a big deal, but that's huge. Getting siege engineers as early as he did as well. Very expensive, but he has that. And I think Lewis's castle that he's just placed is going to go down. He hasn't done anything about this Treb. This Treb's been back there this whole time, kind of hidden away. And oh no, skirm raids do work, Lewis! Oh, that's so brutal for him. Like, basically, he can't send army forward then, right? Because he's got to send army back. And if he can't send army forward, then Heartt's going to be pushing him here. Heartt will take a treb. And still plenty of time, guys, for Heartt to realize he can go take that stone. And now he can come and maybe retake this gold. Maybe push this castle. And if this castle's gone, I think Lewis is completely cooked here. Normally, armor upgrades aren't that valuable in Skirm v Skirm wars, but I think at this stage, with 2 armor upgrade difference, there is a big difference. And Heartt snipes another treb as well. It was a good attempt from Lewis. I think it was genuinely the way to play it back. If you don't have the water like that, might not have quite enough at this stage. Would love to see Heartt drop a tower here again. Because, like, the monk defense shouldn't work if you have the towers in support. He's actually going to go counter raid with skirms again, which made sense before. I'm not sure about now, to be honest. I feel like you just hold this position. It's very good, but it looks like Heartt's about to drop a castle here. He does have more skirms in this position. These skirms are some of them getting kills, some of them going down. Bombard cannons are microing against the skirms. But Lewis can't stand around to convert because there's so many bombard cannons. And this Treb has actually been the MVP. This Treb has dealt 7k damage on its own. The bombard cannons have been worried about other things. And the castle goes down. Yeah, I think Lewis is dead here. Just didn't do enough damage with his land attack. Lost water on both sides. Basically, if you had to sum it up, everything Lewis tried in this game just got completely rolled. On the left side, he went for water. He lost that. Right side, he went for water. He lost that. Land attack didn't accomplish too much. And then economically, he wasn't able to compete because Heartt had the fishing ships early. But Heartt also played very nicely with his eco with the TCs. TCs came up at the perfect time. I really like the tower in the early game too. And Heartt goes up 2-1. Well played. I was really good patience from Heartt to not panic. It's so easy to panic in that scenario against that imp timing. And these siege workshops, even the position of them, and him clicking chemistry before ballistics, that was him thinking, it's all about bombard cannons. I just need to hold. Let's not overextend and go forward. Let's not prioritize the wrong thing here. Even getting siege engineers, like almost instantly, was really, really sick. Yeah, and then the castle age time being close to the melee was so critical here. And he was already ahead on water on both sides, and then he mixes in 1 or 2 turtles, and it's just game over on the sides. So maybe it was the wrong approach from Lewis to play land army there. I'm not sure. Really tough to say against Heartt. All right, so I'm curious to see if there will be any meta mix-ups here, because this map has been played before. I'm also curious to see what the balance of the fish looks like. It looks pretty even here. But I remember in previous Warlords, there were instances where one player had far less fish around. It kind of feels like Lewis is slightly more, but anyways. This map is dominated by the fish. Ideally, you delay all farms because villagers on shorefish is much faster. And it's also less investment because you can just build a mill and have 1,000 or 2,000 food around. And not only is that very quick, but that means you can then afford to go into lots of infantry. And so instead of your typical 2 to 3 or 4 man-at-arms and then stopping because you have no food, here there's continuous food, which makes the Romans a really solid pick. Extra infantry on their man-at-arms. And then I think the thought process for Lewis is to play Sicilians, go for the donjon early, and then make sergeants. Obviously, you still have some boars, you still have some sheep here. But yeah, this map is going to be full focus on the middle. And I like both civs. I haven't seen Sergeant against Roman men-at-arms that frequently, but I think it's pretty close. I guess the difference is that is how easily you can produce them. You could make an argument that it's easier to produce the Sergeants because you just need to build the donjons, but you do need to take stone for that. So I think getting to multiple barracks is easier for Heartt. Yeah, Jamalis, this is a 9-ville start. So they start off with a lot more eco. So don't be convinced or that you're like really, really bad because they're going to reach feudal age in 6 minutes. I saw someone who was like fast castle at like 11 minutes or 12 minutes and someone was like, what? These guys are insane. It is obviously much faster because of the 9 villager start. Any questions, chat? Anyone want to say hello? Any first-time chatters? Thanks for watching, everybody. It's good to be live. I've been kind of chill the last 2 weeks since I came home from Red Bull. I'm always torn, right? There's a part of me, it's like, man, I really need to chill. I went full on, live every day for months and months. My body's just like, dude, I just want to relax. I just want to watch some TV. I don't want to be live. But then there's the other part of me. It's like, I want to be live all the time, you know? So it's been a bit of back and forth. So good to be live. Thanks for watching. What's up? Thank you for the Hi, I'm News, guys. Welcome. Someone says, hi, Mom. Is your mom watching? That's nice. Yeah, there's the scouting from both players. The scouts are looking for the fish to see what the plan is. Lewis is looking for the barracks, which he'll inevitably find. And Hearttt, I think, already saw the dungeon, so there should be no surprises here. Someone says, can you talk a bit about ice cream flavors or pizza toppings? No. I would do so if I didn't think this map was going to be extremely aggressive, but this, unlike the previous game, there should be a lot of action happening at this time, so... Random idea, T90. Do you think adding an extra relic right in the middle of the central mass of wood would be a good idea? I don't think you'd ever get to it, to be honest. But I wouldn't hate it. It'd look kind of cool. I don't think it would add a ton of incentive because there's going to be so many other ways to win this game early. I like the dungeon. It's weird. Sometimes you can't build in certain areas. In theory, you could have built it a bit further back. But the nice thing about this is it acts as a tower for you now. It's funny, there's no villagers underneath that town center for Hearttt to even garrison. Heartt's going for very fast archers. Wow. Okay. T90, what are your opinions on having 7 relics on Warlords maps? I don't mind variety in gens. I don't really like it for arena, though. I think it, especially with the arena generation they have, there's already some really close quarter arena generations. So I'm okay with some monk games every now and then, but I think if you're going to get 6 and 7 relics on really closed arena maps, you're just going to see all-in monks versus all-in monks a lot more. And depending on how the draft plays out, I think it can get to be rather repetitive. But in general, it's a cool idea, so. It's probably good to experiment with, right? Because we have so many different tournaments. Okay. First damage output there was the scout getting hit by the spearman. I'm going to try and select all the fish in here. Looks like 4K food available in these walls here for Lewis. And he's going to go scouts? Whoa, dude. This is... Oh, and Hearttt sees it. Hearttt sees it. So Hearttt thinks he's going to play sergeants. Lewis is trying to mind game. And it's not going to be sergeants at all. And now Hearttt should know to add lots of spearmen. Thing is, I don't know if Lewis knows that his opponent knows. Sometimes it's about what you know, what they know, what you know they know, what you know they know, we know, everyone knows. And Lewis has got to show his hand at some point. Lewis, he doesn't want to move forward because he thinks the scout is there. He doesn't want Hearttt to know. Hearttt, very uncharacteristic of him not to have his scout on the move. See how Lewis is hanging back? Hearttt needs to get some upgrades in my opinion, on these spearmen. But for now, he's making the numbers. Remember, Sicilians do resist some bonus damage. Hearttt can't really do any damage to the food eco, but he's maybe looking for other areas. And he's moving on by here. He'll get to the golds. There go the scouts from Lewis. Lewis goes in against 1 spearman. Hearttt doesn't have the double armor yet. But Lewis didn't have any armor upgrades either. And Lewis, I think, is counting on the surprise. He was banking on the surprise, like being a big swing there. And he doesn't get near the value he wanted. That was actually a really good fight for Hearttt. It's amazing for Hearttt that he takes a good fight and he didn't need to invest into the upgrades. And now you've shown your hand, you're going scouts, your opponent knows you're going scouts, and they have the strongest spearmen to defend from this in the game. Still a lot of work for Hearttt potentially, though, because there's a lot of shorefish exposed here. But he keeps moving around with this army. He's got the blacksmith up now. Fletching is on the way for his archers. He's got the spearmen out there as well. Hearttt will know some of these units are weak. And there goes Lewis. That's a good engagement for Lewis. He kills off the spearmen right away. Hearttt will have a lot of work to do to protect the gold. Lewis loses a villager there to the archer army, which is continuously moving around for Hearttt. Oh, but 2 villagers don't get quick walled in, and Lewis gets 2 villager kills. Right back. Not bad at all for Lewis. Pazamora, I'd really like to see more team game tournaments. And by more team game tournaments, I mean more than like 1 a year. I think there is going to be a team game tournament later on this year. I'd like to see a lot more personally. I'd love to host it, but I'm already doing so much as is. I really just don't have the ability to do so. But yeah, I really think if someone hosts a team game tournament, I will go all in covering it to proving that everyone team game tournaments can kill. So, we'll see. Lots going on here. Villagers going down on both sides. Lewis is using the mobility of the scouts very nicely here. He's definitely got to be happy with the amount of villager kills he's gotten. But he isn't killing the army from Hearttt. Not easily, anyways. Issue for Hearttt, though, is that his army isn't able to really kill all the villagers on the fish. But now, at this point, there's only 2,000 food remaining. Hearttt will lose that small group of army there. Next army's moving forward. Will the players ever transition into any... Oh, God. Lewis goes in for that fight. Lewis takes the fight. Can it work? Damn, Sicilian scouts hit hard. That was against Roman spearmen. He obviously stacked them up. More spearmen are on the way, though. Both players may be thinking about Castle Age here. Here, one thing on the whole team game conversation real quick. So one thing that people have mentioned about team games is like viewership isn't as good on team game events. But name me a team game event where all the big streamers, all the big content creators have taken coverage of it seriously in the last 4 years. Name me one. Hasn't happened. There isn't one. Right? So it's like this thinking of like, oh, the viewership isn't there, so no one wants to do team game tournaments. I think the viewership can be there, man. I think the viewership can be there, for sure. The last big team game tournament was the one hosted by T West. I was playing in it, and it was like really short, so I didn't have as much coverage as I would have liked. But I think team game tournaments could do really well. So, scouts, oh man, dominating. But the archers and spears are also dominating. Another donjon though from Lewis. This is such a nice donjon because he needs secure food. He can't take his gold though, which does delay his castle age, which is also an issue for him. And Hearttt will click up to Castle Age, and if Hearttt makes it to Castle Age this quickly, things could start to get a whole lot more worrying for Lewis. There are some potential downsides with like the amount of people you need to pay out, or like scheduling and time zones and stuff with team games, but I think a lot of the takes on why for anyone who says team games won't work for AoE2 events, I think a lot of the takes are flawed, personally. As someone who's hosted and played 1v1 and team game events and has been around a super long time, I think a lot of the takes are flawed. So yeah, I'd like to see it. I agree with that chatter and anyone else. Lewis, just this approach of trying to snipe vills and then not having any army to defend has caught up with him here. The amount of times he's had to move away from this gold has got to be really devastating for him, and he goes for the fight. That's not it. He tried the mind games, and the mind games have just not worked, guys. Look, he's still making scouts, and Heartt's got 11 spearmen out. At a certain point, you need to switch, I think. At that point would be probably now. I think you would need to play sergeants on the way to Castle Age. That blue dot in the north is just a random goose. This is about to be the safest thing that Lewis owns, is that goose right there. The panic's down a donjon here on the golds. Has to non-stop spend military, and it's been scouts. Nice little wall there. Lewis just doesn't seem to have a lot of faith in the sergeants at the moment. And then he sees Castle Age. But, I mean, I think he's got one more go at this. Because he's still in a position where these donjons pretty much protect enough food and gold for now. But Lewis, you gotta go sergeants, bro. I mean, Heartt's base is still uber exposed. So if he can just ignore this army and go to Heartt's base, maybe there's a chance. Heartt's getting pikemen. Heartt's getting crossbow. Heartt's getting bodkin. Heartt is just camping here. He's waiting until the fish are gone. And he's moving around with this. Would also love to see Lewis go for fletching so his donjon does have more range. Heartt's going to go underneath the donjon. Oh, no. He just dives. Oh, he's diving on both sides as well. Oh, man, Lewis's villas are so exposed. Now, if Heartt loses all of his army, maybe then it's an issue. But perfect timing from Heartt. Villagers going down left and right. Lewis has a lot of idols as well, right? He doesn't exactly have a working food eco when all of his villagers are inside the donjons. And Heartt even gets to the wood line, is just going to camp there. That's so good from Heartt. As long as he defends himself now, I think he's in a really good spot. Remember, his food eco has been relying on the fish as well. So probably some farming eco would make sense at some point. Lewis still on food. He's just got nothing on wood right now. Actually has to buy the wood to make a scorpion for this army. But this scorpion won't find an army because Heartt's moving away. Why is he making knights now? This just feels like sometimes you're just too far gone with a strat. Knights against pikes sounds bad. You do still resist bonus damage, so that aspect is still, like, somewhat viable, but I would have liked to see him switch into sergeants. I'm guessing this is something that was practiced, and you're able to use the Sicilian bonus damage reduction to beat pikes, but he probably didn't play against Roman pikes as well, right? It clearly went for a mind game, though. Like, the way he hid the stable, the way he was hoping to hide the decision from Heartt made that very clear. Heartt is played like he knew it was coming. He did know it was coming. He scouted it very early. Heartt's playing super smooth, man. I mean, there's downsides to sergeants. They're really slow. They're tough to produce. But, like, 3 donjons, heavy on food, heavy on gold. I would have loved to have seen sergeants. I'm just left asking a lot of questions right now. I'm still wondering if Lewis is going to find damage. It's still only a 6 villager difference, guys. Heartt's got a bunch of these tiny little armies. He doesn't really have that one major army right now. The T90, I think lacking double bid-X was also a factor. Yeah, that's a pretty good point there. That's a pretty important upgrade. Lewis just getting that now, which is... I'm thinking back to his build. His build was early mill. Maybe not having the lumber camp at the normal time is what affected him. What a great job from Heartt. He tracks this perfectly. He repairs here perfectly. He clicks these crossbows away perfectly. And he's moving in with this army. Like, what? Bro, you give me no eco to control and I still can't do that. That's insane that everything's tracking perfectly. It's just... so easy to just miss something. Like this. Finally, he's human. This happens to me all the freaking time. And then you miss out on this. So, like, there, that's normal. And Lewis will find a couple snipes. And Heartt's still tracking this. Heartt still might need to worry about transitioning his food eco. Lewis is finding some hits here. Heartt's army... I think I've completely jinxed him. I went from saying Heartt is playing perfectly. He's losing stuff now. And Lewis is making him work really hard. Okay, maybe there's a chance. How much food does Lewis have around the donjons, though? Not much. Zordon says, am I mistaken? Aren't sergeants the perfect answers to pikes and crossbow? Yeah, dude. If there was a unit that was designed to beat pikemen and crossbowmen, it would probably be the sergeant. But the explanation is, I think Lewis... he probably feels like he can use the bonus reduction damage to get the job done anyways. And he's got the score lead. He got some good kills here. Maybe some monks for both players are going to be needed. Lewis runs on after this mangonel. And he kills another one. So that's 2 mangonels down for Heartt over the last few moments. And Heartt still got a nightmare situation on his golds. And the pikemen are out of position again. Can Lewis do this? What does imp look like? I don't think this goes imp. What's funny is they're both so overly committed to fish. Okay, Heartt's slowly transitioning to farms, but I think both their food ecos are going to hit a big wall at a certain point. Lewis can go this way, though. Lewis can keep building mills this way. Heartt can't really keep building mills this way. I could see Lewis winning this. Unless Heartt gets a TC over here. If Heartt gets a TC on that food, that could be really strong. Yeah, like, these TCs are really nice. It's just a really weird map. It's just so hard for Heartt to get any counter damage because of the positioning of the dungeons and the TCs. Whereas with knights, you can actually fight underneath, like, towers and stuff. And also, Heartt doesn't really have the same, so... And this is what sergeants couldn't do, guys. Like, sergeants are super slow. So sergeants can't get this type of damage and get in and get out like that. Heartt, do you think Heartt knows that he's winning this game by 20 population? I don't know if he does. It doesn't feel like it. His population just spent time chasing. Lewis is cooking up here. Lewis is also saving up enough stone for a castle. We could maybe see sergeants through First Crusade later. Lewis can absolutely win this game. Heartt dropping the TCs over here. Type a 1 in chat if this scenario is giving you anxiety, because every time you try and play pikemen against knights, this is the crap that happens. We are just simply seeing the difference between mobility of knights with a solid player. I mean, the knights are just so good. Lewis runs away again. More eco upgrades for Heartt. Heartt's about to have 20 pikemen. He can't exactly do anything with those pikemen, but he's going to have 20 pikemen. And still the knights are going to run through. And will they get the mangonel? I think they will. Yes, they will. That's so annoying. Lose a mangonel to 2 knights. Lewis having pretty good farming eco back behind now. He's got 14 farms. Heartt's got a very similar number. He's got about 8. And it's about to be more than that. And, oh, big moment here for Heartt. He needs to stop this dungeon. This dungeon goes up. It gets very complicated to push this area. I think Heartt should actually go knights. Heartt should be making a switch at a certain stage, in my opinion. And Heartt denies that. That's a big find. Yeah, Lewis still has more villagers working efficiently on the fish right now, over on this left-hand side. Dungeon's at 60%. Micro has to be perfect for Heartt. Oh, God, that's not it! Not the perfection I meant. I meant the other perfect. Who questioned Lewis continually making knights against pikemen and crossbows? And now monks. Not I. Not chat. It's kind of working for Lewis. He's also snagging relics. We are in that point of the game where it could go late game. Still think there needs to be a heavy switch to sergeants, but Lewis holds on. Can he take 2 mangonels? No. He loses the Vilt. Dungeon still denied. Knights will run around. Andres says I'm questioning the +1 cav armor. Nah. +1 cav armor was all the way back in feudal age against archers and stuff. That makes a lot of sense. Now +2, maybe there's a thought that +2 isn't good, but more armor feels better, you know? I'd like to see fletching for the dungeons. I think the dungeons should be offering a lot more offensively and defensively for Lewis. Big raid in the back that Heartt didn't immediately see, which is very rare. Heartt normally reacts right away. They're looking here. The dungeons go up. Heartt's getting massacred in the back. Lewis is bringing this game back. The knights are doing so much damage. And over on the left side, we've got a dungeon going up from Lewis. Heartt pulls back here. Oh, crap. Oh, that's some crazy damage. Also, the dungeon goes up, and the dungeon will get fletching. Lewis is going to win this game. Lewis is going to win this game. The mobility of the knights. Heartt will realize, and he'll send his villagers back to work and realize there's no one on the farms anymore. Damn. I mean, Heartt had no way to end this game. He got ahead, and he just was, like, keeping the lead. Had no way to actually push. And I don't have many recommendations beyond adding in some rams or something. It really feels like just having these donjons here as a defensive structure has been so nice for Lewis. And this could be tilting for Hearttt. Because he was... I mean, he was pretty far ahead in this game, it felt like. But now, I mean, Lewis can just stick to the game plan of boom and make knights. He doesn't have to switch into anything. There's no need. He's got everything secured with more donjons. Hearttt can't push it. I think Heartt's dead. It's actually turned around that quickly. I think Hearttt is just straight up dead. He lost 45 vills. Lewis, if he researches Bodcanero and garrisons these donjons and he gets masonry, like, you can't push them very easily at all. And Lewis could also just add his own mangonels again. Like, just come forward with the mangonel. He's a little light on gold at the moment, Lewis, but he's got 35 on food. The wood in the middle does become a factor. Yeah, see, Hearttt was reacting perfectly, just like he's reacted here for most of the game. You don't react one time, and it just completely undoes you. Maybe a couple nervous moments here for Lewis, because Hearttt is actually starting to get some momentum. He's starting to push the donjons now. But I think Lewis realized that really should not happen, and that he was missing something, and there's Bodcanero now. Heartt's also saving up for a castle, so if he could take these down and build a castle towards the middle, that could be really strong. Hearttt needs to repair all the time. He loses 2 mangonels. And that's because of the knights. And that's because of the donjons. Hey, we got a sergeant, guys! Sergeant sighting! Wow, it's incredible how tanky this unit is. It's almost like it's designed for these moments. That's without any armor upgrades either. Crazy. Lewis is like, oh yeah, that's pretty damn good. That is pretty damn good. Let's keep making it. Look at that dude! I mean, it makes a pretty convincing argument to make a few more. That's no armor upgrades researched. And wow, Lewis, nice job. Again, use the mobility of the knights. Eventually just use the donjons as more of like staying power than anything. Great raids. And a nice turnaround there. Again, for a while it felt like Lewis, he had taken damage and he wasn't able to dish any out. But then once he got enough donjons up, Heartt's army comp of pikemen and crossbow could not end the game. He could not find any eco damage, and all the eco was crammed in here. So having a unit that could run in and out of the base and underneath TCs and in towards the fish and out, like the knight, was really valuable there. And now we go into a 5th game. Well played. What do you do differently there if you're Hearttt, guys? I think you'd need to add like rams, like go pikes and rams. Push down those units. Make the knights fight you. It never really felt like Hearttt was really sure. For a while there, I think he was like, all right, we'll just macro and micro and we're fine. But then, like, the longer the game went, the more Lewis boomed up. Yeah, I think adding your own knights was really good. I do think it was a thought that he had, but he was never really able to have the economy to do it. So, 2-2, though. That's what we want to see. 5th game, decides who goes into the Warlords main event. There was the food eco for Lewis that game. That was a fun one. That was a really fun one. All right, switch the colors back. Here we go, guys. Game 5. I mean, this is the same situation I was talking about with Doubt and Tato. Imagine playing this whole qualifier, having some really good performances, and then losing this 5th game. You do have the chance to play next week. Odds are these players are going to be favored to maybe make it. But both players have played it up to this point, and it would just be the dream to qualify through this series so you could have a week of relaxation. So we've got Lewis playing as the Vietnamese. Now, it might seem like it's not that big of a deal to know where your opponent's TC is here, but I actually think it is because it can be quite random, and that helps you scout for wherever their pawns are going to be. You do have the pawns here. There's very little food, but there's mostly oysters. And I think docking is a must on this map. But what I don't like about this map as a player, guys, is how weirdly the pawns spawn. And Hearttt is going to get really upset with this. Hearttt is looking for a pawn. There's nothing nearby for him. And he's assuming there's going to be one back here, and there's not now. So Hearttt is like, oh, crap. I don't have a dock in the back. Because you don't have time to scout it in a 9-villager start. If it was a 3-villager start, it's fine. But in a 9-villager start, you have so little time to do everything. And Heartt's like, please give me something. And here he goes. In Lewis's case, it's just RNG. He just got a little fortunate. He found this right away. And so he can get the dock down right away. So that's frustrating for Heartt. I'm not going to have a full-on conversation on, like, the pros and cons between 9-villager start versus 3-villager start right now. Having said that, for hybrid maps, the docking position is always the big conversation. Because you have to push your deer, you have to bring in your sheep. There's things you have to do right away with your scout, but you also have to get the scouting intel. And the timing in which you have to dock is moved up so much faster because they instantly go to wood with all their vills. Really hurts on hybrid maps. But that is kind of out of the way. That's not Heartt's plan initially. But, like, for Lewis now, I don't think he's necessarily going to scout there. I think he's going to go here. He's going to look around. I would expect Lewis to maybe want to wall up a little bit, play a little defensive here. Both players have pretty good maps beyond the dock positions, which are the most exposed. Hi, T90, is this a qualifier or just a show match? It's a qualifier. Have I done something to make people think this is a show match? Because I've had those questions a lot today. It has been a good showing from both of them, and it is a match. So, in theory, it is also a show match. But no, maybe it's because we did a show match this past week that created some confusion. Skywalker, thanks for the new sub and the gifted sub. Thank you so much. Lord Headass, welcome back. Tapiton, welcome back. Thank you, guys. We are 9 subs away from hitting 3K again after the couple thousand sub loss after TTL and Red Bull. So if you got a Prime and you're enjoying the show, send it in. Makes the subpocalypse feel a little bit better. Thank you, guys. T90, what are the consequences of losing? Well, if you lose, you, in order to qualify, would have to start from the ground up and play next weekend's qualifier as well. Which would mean a minimum of like 3 to 4 sets to potentially get in. So you win one game, you're into the main event, life is good. You're chilling for a week. You lose this game, you got to go right back at it again. So pretty big difference. No, there's no death. There's no death. Nobody dies if they lose here. They might die inside a little bit, but they can recover. Yo, Sminum, thank you. Thank you, Seismic Wave, for the Prime. Thank you, Melon. Thank you, Tara. Thank you, guys. Barracks coming up from Heartt. And Barracks going up for Lewis as well. And, ooh, Lewis, I think, wanted to go for an additional dock. And I don't think his game plan was to pressure Heartt at all here. But he ends up finding that Heartt's already there. And Heartt actually garrisoned. And so that dock did some damage there. And so now Lewis... No! Lewis has to go elsewhere. And there's freaking Jags out here, man. Oh, that's so annoying. And I think Heartt's also looking for the Vill. Because the Vill was next to his dock. And what does he find? The Jag gets walled in... But now the villager is going to get sniped, and that is so unlucky for Lewis. Lewis should delete the walls. There's a Jag there. Set him free. Heartt is preemptively walling his Vill, thinking the Jag is going to be set free, but the Jag is still in prison. Nice save there from Heartt. He saves the scout. He's also going for a dock in the middle. Again, very weird. Your gold income is actually on the ponds. And villager for Heartt's going to run away. Lots of multitasking needed here. Lewis is going for the safe approach with the walls, which you like to see. He won't have a second dock, but we'll see how much the docking is going to be valuable. They both have fishing ships. Lewis has gone for a lot of fishing ships here. There's 1,100 gold left on the oysters there. And Lewis will have his own archery range. The only thing Lewis won't have locked down very easily would be this gold. But there's not a lot of threat from Heartt at the moment. Heartt's actually looking for the archery range and doesn't see it. Lewis's archer range position is a bit untypical. Typically, you would have it right next to your barracks like Heartt did. So that might make Heartt think he can move forward with his units when he really has to be careful about it. And, ooh, now Heartt sees it. That's really thorough scouting. And, wow, he actually saves the scout as well. He has no business saving that scout. This scout has lived way too long. This scout needs to, like, call mom and dad and say all the right things because you just don't deserve to live anymore. That's crazy. Your time is coming, or so I thought, but damn! Heartt's locked in. Jag is feasting. Nice micro there from Heartt. Both players very similar builds. Very close game. Perfect game 5. Walls will need to come up. I mean, if Heartt gets the full walls down, Heartt's got a very nice gold position. That's not the case for Lewis. Lewis will come out here and go for another dock on another puddle. Now, Heartt can't do any major damage to Lewis, and Lewis doesn't need this gold right now. So I think the smart play from Heartt is to just keep your archers at home. Now, he doesn't want to give up the hill, because if Lewis were to come from this direction, it'd be a problem. But he sees Lewis's scout. That should tell you enough. That should tell you Lewis might be looking for an opening, and he's going to find it. And there's the archers. Heartt has to damage control. Lewis has to use the scout to harass here. The archers got to come all the way back inside for Heartt. Heartt gets some quick walls. But there's 2 villagers exposed now, and Heartt's got to run. Lewis has fletching and armor. And he's Vietnamese, so he has the stronger archers. And Lewis is going to try and run through again. If he gets through... Oh, this is so good for Lewis! It could be worse for Heartt in many ways, of course, but he's got to micro his way out of trouble right now. Lewis will be so happy with this. He's moved forward. He's found the reward. He does need to micro very nicely to stay in Heartt's base as long as possible. And now Lewis, if he wants to shift out to some other resources, can actually consider doing so. Heartt's villager's still standing over here. Hasn't docked yet. In the middle, those archers actually get spotted by the dock. Lewis, pretty standard timing for a market. He needs to balance out his resources. Heartt needs to wall behind this so no army can get through. I think there's still a gap back here. Heartt just wants to put an end to this as quickly as possible. That could have been way worse for him. He only lost 1 vill. Remember, he killed 1. This game is so close. What's up, Savan? Alex, Fast Arc, thank you. Age Bomber, and Azure with the 25 gifted. So sorry, I'm kind of focused on the game. Thank you, man. Great game, though. Great game. I mean, this is... I've played this map a couple times. It's not easy. But what I actually think is really strong on this map is siege in the middle. Because typically there's going to be a couple docks around that you could boop. Like, I think both players might want to do it. Because Lewis might do it from here, and then he can eliminate the fish. And if your opponent's going to add siege, you might want to add siege as well. Lewis is going to opt for skirms. With this economy, that should be fine. Lewis has the dock over here. Taking food for now. We'll eventually take the gold. And Heartt's got the fishing ships over here. But Heartt has moved out into skirms. There's not that many skirms, but there's enough skirmishers where this is a problem. Heartt was not expecting skirmishers. Remember, he spent so much time in his own base. He lost the scout earlier. Honestly, though... Oh, I don't know what happened there for Heartt. His units, did you see that? Maybe lost 1 unit more than he should have. It was really weird. I thought he would run back in, and he like went back that way for a second, but... At least now he knows his opponent is going skirms. And now you could plan around the siege, which I think would be strong anyways. What's up, Evan? Thank you. Why does Heartt have more vills? Gotta look at the math here. I mean, Heartt's gonna be in Castle Age. Well, it's not really vills, it's fishing ships. Vill count's actually identical. They've both been very close in that regard, but it's the fishing ships. Ooh, does Heartt check the hill? Oh. Oh, what? He doesn't even see that pylon? Okay, he sees it. He sees it. This is so bad for Lewis, dude. 4 crossbows deny the siege workshop. That's so frustrating. And the town center can be denied as well. Meanwhile, Lewis has his army here. But, oh, man, if Lewis just was able to track those 4 crossbowmen, it would have made a world of difference. His town center would be up. His siege workshop would be up. Heartt's just going to move wood lines, and Heartt can make a mangonel for this, no problem. That is amazing value from crossbows. There will be tales written about these crossbows. The title of the story will be the four crossbowmen and their value. I don't know how many sales that book will get, but it should at least be taught in schools. Because that definitely has changed the course of the game for Hearttt. Yeah, pushing with skirms felt a little weird. But you always want to actively pressure the opponent. Lewis needs to complete the siege workshop right now, though. Here comes Hearttt moving forward. He will complete the siege workshop. He will also go for a third TC. I think it's time to do a little bit of an oyster check, which sounds weird, but we've got 15 gold left for Lewis there. So that's very little. He's not taking the oysters here. So that was his gold income. He's going to have to shift onto his main gold. For Hearttt, he's got 80 gold there on those oysters. He's obviously got plenty more over here because he came a bit later. And he's got the gold in the middle. Oyster check sounds kind of weird, but yeah, that's what we're doing. 2 TCs for Hearttt. Could see the third town center come up. Looks like we're about to see it now. Super close game. And both civs are very even in the late game. I think I would slightly prefer the Vietnamese in the late game. But like early imp with bombard cannons and arbalest, Portuguese could be super dangerous. What a great game. I think with the amount of hills here, neither player wants to take any massive risks and leave their hill. Like, this is the most important hill for Lewis. This is the most important hill for Hearttt. Seconded only by this. But now Heartt's going to move out. Both players have played super smooth with their eco transitions, man. But in this game, Hearttt actually has a better flow and understanding on how he could potentially pressure. I just think the thing that's underrated there is checking that pond. Lewis behind the wood line with 1 skirm. Hearttt expecting Lewis to maybe move forward here. You see, he almost went forward and he was like, you know what? I have to be patient. I don't want to move up the hill and give Lewis a free kill. I'm just going to sit back. This is a macro game now. Micro, obviously, but also who could balance their eco? And oh man, that could have been so good. Will Hearttt go for the Repairville? Lewis's skirmisher will eventually get killed off there. He's not doing too much. T90, what's typically the deciding factors in close games like these? Imp. Imp, bracer, bombard cannons, castle positions. But of course, to get to all of that, you have to balance out your eco. And being able to manage your economy while simultaneously microing is way easier said than done. Both players are incredible. Like this is the type of game that separates levels. If you had rank 50 in the world against either of these two, they lose an engagement. They're a minute or two later to imp. They're all kind of doing the same things, but it just you just would see a big class difference. And that's amazing defense from Lewis. Really good defense from Lewis. And maybe why Hearttt needs to not push out. But Hearttt actually did push out. And he actually sniped the Mangonel, lost one of his own, and now he's on the Siege Workshop hill. I was not expecting Hearttt to actually advance forward there. I also wasn't expecting him to add a knight, and neither was Lewis. But, I mean, Hearttt traded away all of his army over on this side. And if Lewis mixes in either 1 or 2 of his own knights, or he plays into a couple Fire Lancers, I think he's in a really good position here. Wow, Hearttt deleted his fishing ships there instead of adding fish traps. So he was probably tired of checking his idols, and he didn't think he actually had the time to add the fish traps. But I don't think that is a very good sign for Hearttt. You've got to add fish traps at this level, surely. Also, the knights move forward. There's going to get one converted there, potentially. Okay, he backs up. Another Mangonel's on the way. Lewis was on stone. His plan was to build a castle here. That's a lot of skirms for Lewis. With ballistics, sniping the crossbows. Mangonel micro needs to be perfect. It is for Lewis. And he can convert the knight. I think if Lewis mixes in a couple more Fire Lancers, he's going to end up being okay. He's got a monk back there too. Night switch delays the imp time, guys. It's very uncommon to see a night switch unless you're worried that you don't scale as well. Hearttt chose to go for it. I've lost a lot of games in this moment trying to switch into knights. One player will spend their food and gold on Imp. The other player will switch into Knights. Lewis converting Knights. Lewis kind of losing everything to the Knights. Then again, the Knights are really weak. One Fire Lancer to rule them all. Can he get 2 kills? He does. And Lewis still has the Monks. Monks are always the really important part against any potential Knight switch. I think this game has gone horribly, horribly wrong for Hearttt. Crazy he didn't add the fish traps. I really would have expected that. But I think the other thing was, if you're going to make that switch onto the hill, you have to probably have your crossbows with the Knights. He lost a lot of crossbows and the siege on the right side. Lewis is held. I always say his strength is actually his defense. You think about his wins, he hasn't done an awful lot that has, like, really jumped out at you offensively in the start of games. But if you don't kill him, he could sit back, he can boom, and he typically drafts some civilizations that have some very good late game options as well. And I think Hearttt is just not... I mean, that Knight switch no longer really accomplishes anything. It's going to be extremely difficult for him to have ideas now. Yo, Leon Roma, thanks for the raid, my friend. Thanks for the raid. Leon Roma's made a lot of really cool maps. If you guys remember the train map, he made the train map. Yeah, you go 4 stables here with your mangonels. That's actually fine, but you need the crossbows to snipe the monks, and then you're good. But he lost all of his crossbows. Like, if he held the hill, he could continue to spam, and that changes the game. Eco count would be close. But when you spend that many resources to switch into Knights, the engagements have to be perfect. And the beauty of, like, 2 to 3 monks in the mix there for Lewis is that just all the resources the opponent invests into upgrades just get stolen, basically. That's why it's always so nice to have 1 or 2 monks in your army. I agree the eco upgrades for Hearttt could be better, but remember, this is against Vietnamese that have cheaper and faster researching eco techs. So there's really no civ in the game that makes it as easy to have all the eco techs and do everything else like Lewis has. So, no, Lewis didn't kill Heartt's fishing ships because the eco KD is 2 to 2. So Hearttt deleted the fishing ships on the left. Straight up, he must have. And now Imp's in, and Heartt's got to be like, oof. Yikes. Imp is in. Lewis will start getting Imp upgrades. And, I mean, the Imp upgrades are ridiculous for the Vietnamese. And you can tell when a player has control because they start to do all the small details they couldn't think about before. We're getting the relics. We've got outposts on the side, so there's no surprises. No trebuchet yet for Lewis, but he might not even need to be honest. These skirms can already force enough of a reaction. Hearttt has to keep making Knights. He has no choice. You can't go skirms against the Civ because they just have the superior skirms. Lewis is even seeing. He thinks there might be a hole there, and there is. The Imp skirms will go this way, chase back a couple crossbowmen. These skirms are getting some kills. These skirms will find a hole. Yeah, Hearttt is hard committed to Cavalier now. Feels really complicated to make that work with only 9 of them. Especially when the Vietnamese get Halb and when they get Fire Lancer and they get Cav Archers too. Lewis understands the position he's in is so good. And you know, at a player at this level, when your opponent switches to Knights there, after it was basically like a ranged unit war, you know that you basically won the game as long as you don't throw. This might seem like a throw, but I think that's still fine because you forced Hearttt into the Knights and you take the map control in the middle, which is the most important thing now. And now Lewis is starting to mix in some trebs as well. Hearttt does not have the map control for this. He does not have the relics for this. And engaging into the skirms is going to be an issue. But then Lewis can just go heavy Cav Archer too, and it's some of the best Cav Archers in the game. There's 8 ranges soon to spam Cav Archers right to the hill to protect the trebs. Heartt's going to lose that castle. Hearttt will try some raids on the sides. This is, I actually played this exact Civ matchup in a tournament. I find it really difficult to know what to do with the Portuguese. Because the game state... I mean, it just feels like you can't beat Vietnamese with any unit type. And you get into this state where it feels natural to make a couple knights. Lewis isn't reacting here. But I think it'll still be fine. He's got a castle on the back. Anyways, you have to switch into knights. And then the Vietnamese have cav archers. They have arbs. They have, like, halbs. They have fire lancers. Honestly, I think Lewis could have, maybe should have not taken that damage. But he's still got the town centers up. The knights are just going to get massacred by the town centers. There's not a whole lot of army left, and down goes the castle there for Hearttt. Nice split micro there from Lewis. And Lewis, yeah, keeps the army alive. And there's another castle not too far away here for Hearttt too. Heartt's Cavalier's still trying to get damage, but he's going to tap out. He simply doesn't have an army that can compete with this. And yeah, I think this game came down to Hearttt making the knight switch. The knight switch didn't do enough for him. Otherwise, was a very, very close game. But yeah, I mean, players used to do what Hearttt did here a lot. And this is why he lost the game. But like, you know, you add the fishing ships in this tiny little puddle. And then you just, you don't have the APM, or you don't want to mess with adding fish traps. So you just delete them. But that's surprising to me. Because that was an advantage for him. That's why he had the eco advantage. And I guess, like, he doesn't really have a lot of wood right then, but I'd prefer that those become fish traps at some point. Like, that's what Lewis did, right? Maybe if Hearttt keeps those fishing ships alive, those become fish traps. He has more food. But again, it's 100 wood per, and there's, like, so much micro happening, so I can kind of understand it even at this level. But, again, like, 3 years ago, I'm like, oh, yeah, just delete that crap. But these days, everyone's going for the fish trap. So I don't know. Maybe that shows a lack of comfort there for Hearttt on that map. Vietnamese was a very solid draft there, choice from Lewis. Congratulations to Lewis. Lewis wins. And to be in the top 16, which means he's in Warlords main event. That's a big result for him. More wood, more food, more gold collected there. KD is slightly better. Every aspect of that game was super close until like right around late Castle Age. That was when we saw the difference. Hearttt made the play for the hill, and Lewis just kind of stayed on his army comp and was going towards him.